Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beastieball Neo Crown Series Week 3 weekly recap. I might have to make a shorter title for that. My name is Jairam, and I will be your host for this week, as if I'm not the host for every week. Anyway, feel like in any league like this, whenever you have an undefeated team or player, the discussion about the current standings always has to start with them. And today is a very exciting day because we no longer have an undefeated player, as Matt last week was taken down by Igor. And now, no more undefeateds. And even cooler about this fact is that Igor was previously winless before this week and got their first win of the season against the only undefeated coach of the season. So standings truly have been completely shaken up here. Yeah, not only has Matt fallen, but last week we talked about the 5 players at the top of the standings that were above 500. And 4 of the 5 of them dropped at least one game this past week. So, truly shaking up the standings this week. Nothing is for certain. But yeah, I think I might start with the one of those 4 players last week of those top 5 players last week to actually win both of their sets, and that's going to be with Mabel. So Mabel, round 5, getting a 2-1 over Igor. So shout out Igor, not only beating Matt at the top of the standings, but also putting up a tightly contested 1-2 loss against the other player at the top of the standings in Mabel. Really impressive showing from Igor. It's really not that big of a gap from the 1-5 players to the 5-1 players. I think it's just ever so slightly getting edged out here. But yeah, Mabel getting a 2-1 over Igor, which every win is important, and then a very impressive 2-0 win over Termax. Termax was one of those players at 3-1 the past week, so Mabel getting a 5-1 win here, very important for that standing. If Termax had won that set, we'd be sitting here talking about how Termax was the only one of those 5 players to go 2-0 this week. So very, very solid win for Mabel there. Yeah, and with tiebreaker shenanigans, they are going to have the edge over Matt for now. But Matt, even with the 0-2 loss to Igor, they do get a 2-1 win over Dino, which, like, that was the match I was expecting a Matt loss in this week, not the Igor set. So still a very solid win for Matt there, staying at the top of the leaderboard at 5-1. Still in prime playoff position. Yeah, Termax also only going 1-1 this week. With how many losses there have been at the top half of the bracket, 1-1 still enough to stay in playoff position. And yeah, I know last week I was a bit skeptical of them since they had a pretty easy schedule, but this week was going to be a test whether they deserve to be at the top. And while they did get 0-2'd by Mabel, they in return had a 2-0 win over Score, which was another one of those 3-1 players heading into the week. That 2-0 for Termax is able to keep them at the top half of the leaderboard here. It's a very, very good set win. Yeah. You'll see the other two 3-1 players heading into the week are Cavalo and Score, and they were not able to hold to their top spots. As I just mentioned, Score dropping 0-2 to Termax, then also 1-2 to Your Bestie. They're going to drop to 3-3. Meanwhile, Cavalo 0-2 lost to Airy, 1-2 lost to Pixelakio. I keep wanting to say Pixelakio. I just... yeah, so they both struggled this week, and it's gonna drop them low in the standings, but like, with how many 500 players there are right now at 3-3, they're certainly not out of it. They're not too far behind the top spots. At least this early in the season, there's room to have a bad week like that. But enough about the players who fell off from the previous week. Let's talk about some of those players who were 2-2 coming into the week and have surged. You'll see Ket right now, who was 2-2 coming into this week, has now snuck all the way up into a playoff position, with Your Bestie and Web Bowser right behind. So Ket was able to 2-1 Skarmy, 2-1 Pummy. So again, not the most impressive wins, as Skarmy and Pummy are towards the lower end of the leaderboard. But still, 2 wins that are able to catapult them up into playoff position. You'll take any wins that you can get in this league. Absolutely. And then Your Bestie, we mentioned earlier, getting that 2-1 over Score. Score was at the top of the leaderboard coming into this week, so Your Bestie kind of being able to able to leapfrog Score with that win, and also 2-1 over Pummy, solid win. And then lastly, Web Bowser getting a 2-0 over King of Charge and a 2-1 over Airy. That 2-1 over Airy is, I think, very impressive, because like, Airy was a player I had my eye on to coming into this week to make that jump from 2-2 to 4-2. But Web Bowser actually managing to steal that from Airy and being the one to jump to 4-2 instead. That's a win I am really impressed by. While we're on the topic of Airy, they at least were able to go 500 this week, getting a 2-0 over Cavalo to stay in this race. Dino, as I mentioned earlier, falling 1-2 to Matt, but also getting a 2-0 over Marburst, who Marburst is also in this 3-3 no man's land right now, who was able to get a 2-0 over Pixelakio, to also stay at 500, get to 3-3. So this, as you've been looking at, this is kind of where everything is standing for the moment. Mabel and Matt having a very good first half to the season, solidly in control. Then you get to Termax, Ket, Your Bestie, and Web Bowser having a slight edge in competing for those last 2 playoff spots, slight edge over the 500 crowd. And then you have the 3-3 players who have been having a bit of a rough time in the first half of the season, not quite making the impressive, like, getting the strong head start, but they're still very much in this. And then below that, 2 and 4, 1 and 5 players. Not out of the question to make a run all the way up to the top, but it's definitely gonna be a rough. They're gonna have to pull some very impressive end of season shenanigans to get up to the top. Now, looking ahead to next week, we have some very interesting matches. Your bestie had a very impressive run this past week to get up to 4 and 2, but this is gonna be the real test to see whether they can really hang at the top, deserve to get a playoff spot. Round 7, playing Mabel, current number 1 player. Round 8, playing Matt, current number 2 player, the only 2 players at 5 and 1 right now. So your bestie is going to have a chance to make an absolute statement this week and single-handedly catapult themselves to the top of the leaderboard, or they're going to take a bit of a hit in the rankings. We will have to see. With how the season's got on, I have a feeling that they'll be able to take one of these games. Nobody has been able to stay super consistent, super dominant, and beat everyone. So I feel like I'm anticipating a 1-1 performance from your bestie here this weekend. Not sure whether it's going to be Matt or Mabel they'll be able to take down though. Speaking of Matt's also got a bit of a challenging week this week. Not only facing your bestie in round 8, but also Termax in round 7, who is currently sitting at 4 and 2, has had a pretty impressive run so far. Termax also having a decently challenging week this week, with Matt in round 7, and then Marburst in round 8. Marburst is a player that I haven't really talked much about. They've just been treading water at 500 so far. They're in it, but they haven't really had any impressive wins or anything that have made me really want to take notice. But they absolutely have the potential to make a run here and get to playoffs. And if a win against Termax here could be the start of that run they need to get into the top tier. The last match of round 7 that I want to mention as being super exciting is Cavalo versus Dino. It's not featuring, like, it's only 2 3 and 3 players, so not like battle against top coaches here. But it's 2 3 and 3 players who both kind of need that push over the edge to get themselves into that top half. We're heading into, or finishing round 8 this week, which is kind of the halfway point of the season. You kind of, if you're gonna be sitting at 500 through the halfway mark of the season, you're still gonna be in it, but you kind of want to make your push before that. We could see a bunch of 6 and 2, 7 and 1 players up at the top here by the end of this week. You're sitting at 4 and 4. That 2-game difference is going to be difficult to make up. So I think if you're 3 and 3, you're really going to want to surge now so you don't start falling too far behind. So that Cavalo versus Dino matchup, it's going to be very important for both of them to keep themselves in it. especially for Dino, who so many of us think of as like the best Beastieball player. This is kind of a make or break week for them, I feel. Versus Cavalo in round 7 and versus Web Bowser in round 8, who's sitting at 4-2. Even just another like 1-in-1 week for Dino here is like, I'm not sure if that's gonna cut it. Yeah, losing to Web Bowser could be a very difficult thing to come back from. Web Bowser would be getting a 2-game lead. Matt and Mabel already have a 2-game lead. It's gonna be difficult to come back from. Round 8. There's also a few more interesting matches that I haven't mentioned yet. Score versus Mabel. Score had a bit of a rough week last week. This is going to be an important test to see if they can bounce back from that with a match against Mabel, who they were tied with at 3-1 2 weeks ago. We'll see if they were truly on equal playing fields then, or if Mabel will be able to continue their dominance throughout the season. And then we also have Aerie versus Ket. So, as I stated earlier, Aerie is like the player that I keep expecting to make a run and a jump up. They just haven't yet. Well, Ket is a historically very good Beastieball player. Currently 4-2 right now in playoff position. That's going to be a very interesting set to watch play out. And knowing that they usually also schedule their matches late in the week, probably won't be until the weekend until we see that one play out. Yeah, that's the interesting matches week 4 look ahead. Final predictions I have. Yeah, I do. Yeah, as I stated earlier, I expect your bestie to beat either Matt or Mabel. Not sure which one, but I expect them to be able to win one of those sets. Get up to 5-3. I keep expecting Dino, like, I think this is a make or break week for Dino, and I think Dino will finally be able to pull out the 2-0 this week. I think it's gonna happen. Same thing for Aerie. I believe that the breakout is gonna happen there as well. The 2-0 week. Yeah, I think that about wraps it up for my predictions for this week. Yeah, I know there was, and then, yeah, thank you all for people in the Discord who made suggestions and improvements. Hopefully the music has been nice. I wanted to do some gameplay, but nobody really uploaded any gameplay from Division 1 this past week, so wasn't able to get any of that. But yeah, if you have any further suggestions, please let me know in either the YouTube comments or the Discord. Yeah, hopefully this has been fun. Have a good week 4 of the Neocron series. Bye-bye.